Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC Vancouver. In this matchup, we have Manon Fiorot taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. Fiorot is 12-2 as a professional, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Meanwhile, Jasudavicius is 14-3 as a professional, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Currently riding a 5-fight win streak, actually. Looking at their last 5, for Manon Fiorot, she was undefeated in the UFC for a long while. Her last fight was for the title against Valentina Shevchenko back in UFC 315, where she lost via decision. Before then, and like I said, undefeated in the UFC, of those last 4 wins were to Jennifer Maia, Caitlin Sermonara, Rose Namajunas, and her most recent win was to Erin Blanchfield last March. Meanwhile, Jasudavicius riding a 5-5 win streak, each opponent getting better and better. And she's just been looking better and better as a consequence. Submitting Bisela Cachoeira, defeating Fatima Klein via decision. Submitting Ariane Lipski de Silva. What was it? Oh, yeah. Beating Mayra Bueno Silva via decision this February. And then in her most recent fight, submitted Jessica Andrade in no time in the first round back at UFC 315 as well. So looking at this fight overall, like what does it mean for the division? I actually really enjoy this matchup, and I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how this play out. I know, most guys aren't interested in some of the women's fights, and I understand that. But for this one, I'm very intrigued by it, mostly because I think it has the 2 physically strongest women's flyweights on the roster, which kind of leads to me going to my breakdown, as well as what I meant to say is how I think this goes for the division. Well, Fiorot just fought for the title. She lost. Meanwhile, Jasmine Jasudavicius, riding a hot streak of 5 straight wins, 3 of those by finish. And with a win here against a former title challenger who's number 2 in the world. This is a big chance for Jasmine to put herself in that title picture. Now, of course, the title will be fought for in November when Shevchenko takes on Wei Li. I'll talk about that fight when we get to that week. But still, it's kind of interesting to see how this all plays out. Now, when these 2 fight, it's going to be striker versus grappler very easily to break that down. Fiorot is a very physically strong striker. As you see, just Fiorot on the cage, she's one of the biggest female flyweights on the roster, and easily one of the strongest. Is at 5'7", she kind of towers over most of her opposition. Now, she won't be towering over Jasudavicius, as Jasudavicius herself is also 5'7". But both of them are pretty physical. It's just they use their strength and physicality very differently. For Fiorot, she's mostly a mid to long range striker. That's usually her bread and butter. And most of the time when she fights, she more or less point fights. She's got very good traditional style kicks, like those karate/taekwondo side kicks to the body, good leg kicks. One of her best techniques/combos is leading with a body kick, coming into mid-range to close range, and then firing off a punching combination. In the clinch, too, she's a nightmare. She towers over most of her opposition and is able to outmuscle them in the clinch, / using good knees up the middle, good elbows. She can even get some takedowns of her own. Mostly relies on trips and or sweeps, but also kind of just muscling down her opposition. She took down Shevchenko, too, in their title fight. Sorry. Or I guess I should just say their fight instead of title fight. But you get my idea. If Fiorot can take down Valentina, which I know Valentina is getting old, but that does say a lot to the strength she has. Now, there are some weaknesses to her. Mostly you saw in the Shevchenko fight. She can be a bit inactive at times when she's in that sort of karate-esque stance or just waiting for opposition. Fiorot is usually a type of striker that once her opponent fires the first shot, she'll fire the second shot. Usually, and then get out of the way before her opposition can fire off the third shot. Is usually how she works. But the problem is that can be kind of lulled into inactivity if her opponent doesn't play her game, nor just rush at her blindly. So most of Fiorot's, I would say, best attributes would be to make her opponents pay for just coming after her recklessly. That's usually Fiorot's best style. As for Jasmine, she's going to be the grappler of the 2, And boy, she's a dominant one at that. As I said, like Fior, she's a giant. I guess giant is kind of overplaying it, but she's one of the biggest flyweights on the roster, and she uses that size and strength very well. I mean, look specifically at her Jessica Andrade fight. Andrade, powerful bruiser. Yes, she's smaller than Jasmine, but I mean, this woman fought at women's bantamweight, go down to strawweight. She's a physical bruiser no matter what weight class she's in. And Jasmine bullied her so badly in that fight in the grappling. Just picked up Andrade, did whatever she wanted to her in a fight where she had little resistance. And even with other grapplers with a dangerous submission game like Bueno Silva, Jasmine didn't really care. She would just constantly go for the takedown. One of her best skills is easily her cardio and pressure. She's a pressure grappler, Jasmine, and is very good at it. Now, as for the striking, it has gone better for sure. She's better at throwing combinations in her boxing. She has some kicks, but it's mostly boxing that does the trick. And she mends it very well with her grappling, being able to punch into range and then go for either like a gable grip or a C grip, and then take her opponent down is usually how Jasmine is able to get her takedowns. Or she'll just blast a double leg, could switch to a single and run it down the pipe. She's also very good at those traditional takedowns as well, not just the trips or picking up her opponents. I guess mat return would be the word I'm looking for here. And while at first she wasn't seemingly a finisher, mostly winning her fights via decision, most recently she's been a really good submission threat. Mostly it's her Darce choke, I would say, is her best one. I mean, she got a good rear naked choke over Andrade, but it's mainly her Darces that are very good. And I think of some of the other grapplers she's fought, like Fatima Klein, who I understand is a strawweight, but Fatima Klein's fought at flyweight before, and Jasmine was able to just bully her on the ground. And Fatima Klein's got some good jiu-jitsu to her. Or Bueno Silva, as I meant. Actually, it's interesting. Bueno Silva fought both Fior and Jasmine and got dominated in both their respective A games. Jasmine had the top control and overall better positional, I wouldn't say awareness, but yeah, better positional control over Bueno Silva, and she was able to just win the decision. While Fior kept good distance striking and made Bueno Silva pay every time she entered her range. Occasionally, Bueno Silva could enter the clinch and kind of stall the fight, but not really doing much other than getting lit up on the feet. Here's the trickiest part of the fight. Can Jasmine take Fior down? That's the question. A lot of Fior's oppositions have tried. The thing is, Fior has really good balance, very strong in the clinch, and she's good at fighting off the grips. And she's fought pressure grapplers before who rely on the cage to try and take her opponents down. I'm thinking mostly of Jennifer Maia as well as Erin Blanchfield. The trick is, though, she's never fought a grappler. The only other one who would be kind of like Jasmine that Fior has fought would have to be Bueno Silva. But Bueno Silva doesn't have the same wrestling of Jasmine. And I'd argue Jasmine is much stronger than Bueno Silva, at least at flyweight. At bantamweight, that's a different story for another day. But Fior has never fought someone who has the wrestling of Jasmine, at least in my opinion, nor does she have, or I take that back. She's fought Erin Blanchfield, who's a pretty good wrestler and grappler in her own right. What I mean is, she's never fought any woman with the combination of both size and wrestling to take Fior down. And that's what I believe is going to be the trick in this fight. With Jasmine having the strength to match Fior and the grappling techniques and the wrestling to be able to take Fior down, I see Jasmine actually being able to hit her takedowns much better than some of Fior's other opposition that she has faced. Now, looking at the odds, Fior minus 250, plus 200 for Jasudavicius. You know what? Give me Jasudavicius as the 2-1 underdog. And I know what some people were thinking, like, well, Jasmine's fought some good girls, but Fior is a different level, the best opponent she's arguably faced. And, Fior could probably do something similar to what Tracy Cortez did, which is Jasudavicius' last loss. Use her anti-wrestling, keep it on the feet, and pick Jasmine apart, as Fior will be the much better striker. And that's fair. I can see that happening. But I feel like just the momentum that Jasudavicius is riding is just too hard to ignore for me. And again, as I've just been saying this whole breakdown, it's the combination of Jasmine's strength plus her wrestling is going to be what separates her from all of Fiora's opposition. You know, Blanchfield, I would say, has arguably better wrestling than Jasmine, but she was not the same size nor the same strength. So that's what my biggest reasoning is for why I think Jasmine will have much more success than some of other Fiora's opponents. Plus, you got to wonder, this is usually when fighters, in their return fight after a title fight. Now, that's not true for all, but usually they lose their next fight after a title fight. Now, Diego Lopez didn't. I am aware of this. But there have been times when you see a fighter fight for a title and then lose their next fight. It's not, now again, it's not often, and there are plenty of examples that prove me wrong, but there are just some times where I feel like when a fighter reaches that pinnacle and they lose, especially a close decision like she did, you know, I mean, Shevchenko won it fair and square, but a close decision nonetheless. It makes you think, well, does Fiora just like get overconfident? Like think, okay, maybe I won. I just don't really need to improve that much. Now, again, this is all speculation. I can't read minds, but that's something I feel like needs to be addressed, or at least I feel like it's going to be me for address. Plus, like I said, Jasmine's on the best win streak of her career here, especially with how her level of opposition has continuously increased from a former title challenger in Bueno Silva to a former champion in Andrade, and then dominating both of them. I just feel like this is the best run of Jasmine's career. Now, you know, 36 is a little worrisome, but at the same time, it's not like Fiora's any younger. I mean, she's 35. They're not that much of an age difference between the two. And I just think Jasmine's not going to respect Fiora's strike. I think she's going to get in her face. She's got excellent cardio. She has cardio to go all 3 rounds. And I just think Jasmine is going to come after Fiora and just kind of try and bully her in the clinch. Use her boxing combinations to get in close, eventually get a tie-up in the clinch, and then go for the takedowns afterwards. Now, how do I see her winning? I'd probably say a very close decision is what I'm leaning towards. I'm hoping Jasmine can get the submission, and she's shown that she can get it. But it's hard to think that she like finishes Fiora or on the ground. I mean, Fiora has pretty good defensive jiu-jitsu, even when like even when Blanchfield took her down, Blanchfield didn't really get any opportunities to get a submission. Granted, Fiora got right back up, but still. I think this is going to go the distance. I'm seeing like a 29-28, maybe even a very, very contested decision, because I can see the rounds overall being close, with possibly Fiora scoring more on the damage, but Jasudavicius getting more control time, and shoot, she might be able to win the damage if she gets off her ground and pound, which is pretty vicious as well. So with all that being said, I'm going to go with Jasmine Jasudavicius, and I'm going to pick her via decision. Like I said, it's a pretty close fight, but I think even as a 2-1 underdog, I think Jasmine Jasudavicius can get the win here and get not only the biggest win of her career, but the biggest win of her career in her home country of Canada. So with that being said, that's been my prediction for this matchup. If you like the video, comment and subscribe. What do you think of this matchup? Where do you think the winner goes from here afterwards? And overall, what do you just think of the fight? Next up, we'll have our featured fight, Marlon Chito Vera taking on Amin Zahabi. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. Thank you all for listening. Take care.